Hello everyone who's ever wanted a ship that's in the air. I am BorderWise, and welcome back to From the Depths. More specifically, the series of tutorials where we discuss what makes a good, well, insert category of craft here. Today we're doing airships, because I've had airships on the brain, and we'll be using this airship as kind of, well, at least one of our examples. This thing was made for a patron, Azuzu, for her custom campaign, Barons of the North. Look forward to it soon. And it's decent as airships go. Not perfect, but we'll get to that. So, firstly, rough definitions. What the hell is an airship? Or thruster craft? I'm actually including both of those craft in this particular video because they are pretty similar in most ways, and there is a line between the two that gets blurred. Craft definitions in From the Depths, as in real life, is actually kind of fuzzy and murky, so yeah, rough definition is that airships mostly use propellers. Or so this is pretty much definitely an airship because that was what was requested. It is using propellers in order to fly and steer maneuver, but it does still have jets on it. And a thruster craft uses mostly thrusters, so let's as much fun as it is to bully marauders, let's spawn in a thruster craft of some kind. Let's, what's a fun thing? Let's spawn in a Morningstar. Morningstars are fun. So this fella, way over here, is hang on a minute. Ah! Oh, that's an airship, my bad. Well, what's a smog? Spawn in a smog instead. Where is the smog? Show me the smog. This thing's so... hang on a minute. See what I'm talking about? Even the neater vehicles get confused. I mean, it does have, a lot of thrusters in it. But is this a thruster craft or is it an airship? It's listed as a thruster craft, you know what I mean? Thruster crafts mostly use thrusters. Oh, hello, we're taking on the smog. How about that? Whee! But anyway, so, thruster crafts use thrusters, airships use propellers. Or helium, I guess. That also can work. And so now we've got 3 thruster/airships are running around here. I've gone off script. That's a disaster. And yeah, so I'm just going to be referring them colloquially as airships just because that's shorter to say. But wow, you got hit by a marauder. You should be ashamed. Shame on your house, shame on your cow. But I'm just going to say airships, but just bear in mind I mean thrustercraft as well. So the line gets crossed, as is the case in this thing, when it has both thrusters and propellers and uses both of them. In fact, I would say a lot of Grey Talon stuff, it's kind of hard to tell the difference between the two. But anyway, another brief note before we get into why these things, what makes a good airship, is, they are better than ships. Just a brief note on that. I made a whole-ass video on that, by the way. But it is worth mentioning again, the short version is, since these things use materials to maintain their altitude and heading and all that stuff, to control their position in time and space, they can actually afford to be more heavily armed and armored than regular surface ships, and because they can move in the vertical as well as horizontal plane, they're actually more evasive. Also, out of the water, they are faster because less drag. So that's a brief note there. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about, I'm going to delete everything here, and I'm going to just spawn in on player team. The difference between... oh, what's a well-armored ship? Right, so, brief mention of that. Look at the difference in armor between these two guys. I'm going to be so embarrassed if the Thresher turns out to have... incidentally, this is custom campaign colors I'm currently running with. Shout out to Plutono. Right, both of these things are Frontsiders. Behold the difference in armor. This is because the Thresher Shark, like all ships in Neater, it needs to be able to float. It doesn't have upprops at all. And that's kind of the main advantage of ships, is that you can make them just float. You can't really make an airship float unless you use a lot of helium pumps. And the armor is notable in that it's not really there at all. There's big air gaps, there's a lambs here. This thing's mostly relying on being... how would you say? It's really mostly relying on being kind of annoying to hit, because the Thresher Shark does, scoot back and forth willy-nilly. But yeah, this is actually more expensive than the Goshawk, and is, way less heavily armored, because... where'd you go? This thing has custom jets. It doesn't care about weight, which means it can go absolutely mental on the heavy armor. This isn't even the most sophisticated armor scheme. Oh, there's some wedges right there. So you see the difference between a front-siding airship and a front-siding ship. Assuming the ship's not using up-props, your airship is just going to be much more heavily armed and armored, simply because, well, it's burning entire rainforest to not care about weight anymore. So there is that. Now, finally, we can get to what makes a good airship. So let's spawn in the Zuzu airship. That is a work in progress. By the way, this is not the final product. Zuzu's going to do some decoration magic on this, probably. So, what makes a good airship? Firstly, it needs to be evasive. So if I spawn in... Oh, what can we spawn in? Let's spawn in a bulwark. Wark, we need you. I spawned that right underneath me. Nope, let's do that again, but better. Oh, no. I thought I'd be more awake now. I was wrong. So against crams, at least, airships are not nearly as vulnerable to crams as surface ships are, because this thing, you'll notice, it's bouncing up and down, it's moving from side to side, it's rolling, it's pitching. Its stability gets absolutely shot sometimes. But yeah. First thing has to be evasive, because it's like, sure, you can rely entirely on all the armor and active defenses, or you can fly like you're drunk, and that actually does the trick quite nicely. It's even dodging APS shells right now, which is quite nice. So yeah, in that respect, this airship, good, we like that. Incidentally, this thing can still be more stable than planes. The stability of this thing is kind of weird, which is probably why the crams miss a lot, but occasionally you'll see the stability is climbing all the way back up to like 70% occasionally, just when she's not going full tilt. Which means that occasionally she still has better accuracy than planes do. Which is another advantage of airships, like over planes specifically. That is a lot of damage. So yeah, let's watch our thing bounce around drunkenly. Another thing is that since, like, an airship that doesn't take advantage of the sheer power of custom propellers, and especially custom jets, you might as well take advantage of that. So a good airship, I would say, really leans onto... It uses the heavy stuff, so it uses a lot of crams, it uses a lot of heavy armor. Less so with anything using propeller, like a thrustercraft using custom jets. Get enough custom jets, you will never have to worry about... well, you won't have to worry about weight ever again, but your budget might have to worry about it. Nothing shows this off better than the Pyre, and sorry, Zuzu Airship, you're about to have a very bad day indeed. So this thing, possibly one of the most infamous flying bricks, is made entirely out of heavy armor. So we go block counter, it's got, I don't know, so it's like 3.5 thousand heavy armor wedges in there, so it's about as wedgy as you can possibly get. And the Zuzu airship is so lucky that that the Pyres decided to go for the bulwark. So yeah, like this kind of thing is like a good airship slash thrustercraft, because it's really leaning into that whole defying gravity to its fullest extent. Lots of heavy weapons. Big missiles, guns, particle cannons, lots of heavy armor. That's a sign of a good airship, if it's taking advantage of that. Because if you want something light and fast, you might as well make a plane. Okay, and you can make it a Frontsider or Broadsider. Frontsiders are generally better, but Broadsiders can still work pretty well. There are some broadsiding airships which I'm legit scared of. Like, what is an example? The Great Han's Aquila. So if I spawn this in, and just for giggles, I'm going to spawn it in on the Scarlet Dawn team. Where is it? The Aquila is a weirdly bit of a glass cannon. Like, I've seen it get AI deaded kind of easily. But don't underestimate a fast broadsider, because the thing has a nasty habit of sneaking behind you, which frontsiders can't really do unless they outmaneuver you completely. And... yeah, so for the short version of Frontsiders and Broadsiders, Frontsiders better 1v1, Broadsiders slightly better in general at dealing with multiple different enemies at once. So for swarms, Broadsiders, for single targets, Frontsiders. That is a general rule of thumb, it's not 100% accurate. This is a laggy fight, it's almost like there's four big fat things all brawling with each other. And speaking of maneuverability, your airships have got to be maneuverable as hell, especially if they're Frontsiders. If you make him fast, if you make him nice and what do you call it? If you make it nice and evasive, but they don't turn well, you're gonna have a real problem because, as you probably guessed by now, airships and thrustercraft, they burn through materials a lot more than other craft do, and you don't want to waste that. You want to make sure that they're in their optimal position and they stay there. So yeah, the Pyre is actually getting ganged up on by literally everything because it's the biggest, meanest thing here. That's funny. So yeah, make sure to make it maneuverable. You'll notice the Pyre has these honking big props back here, some of which I'm not sure what's going on here. It's worth dipping into the bread for these things. I'm bad at explaining bread, so I'm probably not going to do that. You don't actually need breadboard to make a super evasive frontsider. What you can do, just in case there was any uncertainty, why is everything lagging? Why is my phone buzzing? There's too many things happening at once. What you can do is turn... What the... No, I didn't want to do that. What you can do is just turn up the gain on the hover PID, and that can make your thing bounce up and down quite nicely. This thing's getting shot in the butt, how rude. And that's about it for what makes a good airship. Running through the list again, is it evasive? Is it taking advantage of its defying gravity to load up on the heavy gear? Is it well armored? Is it just embracing the delicious cheese? Is it a dedicated frontsider or broadsider? And are you using it in the correct way if it is? We're actually surviving as a Pyre. Admittedly, it is the real one. Oh, the bulwark's dead. Uh-oh. And can the thing turn properly? That is the main thing. You'll notice it's not a very long list for what makes a good airship, but that's because, as I said before, airships are kind of pretty decent by design already. They're avoiding a lot of the things that ships tend to struggle with, one of which is that... Like, I'm looking back through my notes here, they don't need to worry about passive floating. They worry about redundancy slightly less. It still helps if they do have a lot of redundancy, but they don't need it as much because they're better at avoiding damage. Same thing with being versatile. You can make a damn fast airship. The Pyre, for instance, its top speed is 87 meters per second. Anything it can't outfight, it can probably outrun. There's not a lot that can outfight a Pyre, I do have to say. The Zuzu airship is definitely not going to be able to do it because it is less than half the cost of the Pyre. Poor Zuzu airship. I think I need to make a much bigger, meaner version. Hang on, let's spawn in more of these. If we spawn in 2 more, surely we'll be able to beat the Pyre. Surely we'll be able to. Definitely not a lag fest waiting to happen, is it? And the Pyre definitely isn't running away at 3 zillion miles an hour. Yeah, if you're gonna make a cram airship, by the way, you're gonna want to, you're gonna want to make it a little bit better than this. Oh my god. We're flying directly over the Pyre. And that is a lot of small missiles. This is a funky fight. This is the funkiest of funky fights. But anyway, that just about does it for what makes a good airship. I didn't show you. I've shown the Pyre off before. Like seriously, if you want to see what kind of nonsense airships and thrustercraft can get up to, the Pyre pretty much justifies that pretty well. Also, the fact that we're setting this on fire so much is hilarious. We're not going to win, by the way. Poor Zuzu airship was never designed for this. So. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Support me on Patreon or YouTube membership if you like. It really helps. And there's fun perks in it for you. Like at the lowest tier, access to a Patreon exclusive Discord, where you can hang out with me and other cool people. We can talk about airships. Airships are fun to talk about. And also, I will, at the highest tier, build stuff like this for you. Or draw you pictures, whichever you prefer. Just once a month so I don't get swamped. And do check out my other channels. I have a whole bunch now. And check me out on Twitch. I stream on Twitch. It's a fun time on Twitch. I'd love to see you there. So yeah. What else am I missing? I don't think I'm missing anything. I'm missing when this airship was fully functional. Amazing it's lasted this long, honestly. Farewell! I cannot face what I've done, because this thing no longer has a face.